Hey crafty friends, do you like the look of the bokeh technique but not quite sure how to do it or struggle with creating it? I have 3 ways to do the bokeh technique today that's super easy, that's sure to take your card making to the next level. Let's jump into it. Alright, for the first technique, I'm going to use stencils from Waffle Flower Crafts. They are the Bokeh Trio stencils. I had to think what the name was there for a second. These are super easy to do. The stencils have the etching around the edge. You can just line it up onto your paper. And then I'm coming in with, I chose fall colors for the color palette today. So I'm just using Distress inks and ink blending with a foam blending tool right over top of that. Once I get the first layer done, I clean that stencil off and I will flip it over so I can get more of the bokeh effect onto my paper, which is what you can see here on this view. So I've used a different color. Then I move on to the next stencil. There's 3 stencils in this set, and I will repeat those steps of flipping and cleaning and flipping the stencil after the first application each time so that I can have, like I said, more bokeh effect on my card front. That was the only drawback with these stencils. They are very limited on the spacing, so you don't get a big lot amount of bokeh that we will see in some of the later techniques. So that was one thing. And I actually had to order those, and the other techniques I will share, and the other 2 techniques I'm sharing, you probably already have the supplies in your stash to use and create this technique with that. All right, so for our finishing touch, we're going to add our last layer of our color. I did choose a couple different shades of oranges, a couple different shades of yellows, and a dusty pink for all my combinations. And to finish it all off, we are going to clean that stencil and flip it over. And we are going to use white pigment ink for the finishing touch. In a minute, I'm going to add my dusty pink in. I forgot about that. And I'm just using Distress inks. That's what I had on the desk at the time. So that's what I'm doing. So there's that. Here's our final one. And we are just going to add in, I'm using the Unicorn White pigment ink from Hero Arts. I found that I really like that ink a lot, especially for my pigment ink. Now, I am using a foam blending tool designated. I'm going to use a sponge dauber for this. I couldn't find my blending tool that I have designated just for my white pigment ink. And I don't like using a brush when I'm doing this because it has a tendency to get up under the stencil. So that's why I kind of use one of those tools instead. And here's an example of a card I made using that. For the next technique, I'm sure you all have this one. We're going to use Distress inks, and we're going to use our foam blending tools, and we're going to put the ink down. I ink it once, and then I do, like you can see in this view, I'm twisting the handle to get the desired effect, a nice circle. It might work with the square ones. I'm not really sure. But you try not to fill the blending tool until I get completely where it doesn't show up, like right there. Then I will add more ink, and I just go until I get the ink off of the blending tool. And I just fill up. My cardstock are bigger like the stencils are. They're about the same size as the stencils are. But this is something I had in my craft room. I've done this technique several times, and I may have done it in a video before. I don't remember. Excuse me. But this is a super easy way to do the bokeh technique, and it's one of my favorites. So I'm just going to finish adding those colors. So what's going on with y'all? Nothing much is going on here. We're going to have a little talk. Go back to the card for a second. I'm going to do the same thing with the white pigment ink and just fill in the rest of it. So nothing much is going on here. We've just been working around the house, doing some chores that we've been putting off. Yeah, I don't know about putting stuff off, but it's like doing the voiceovers for some of these videos. I put off until the last minute. So that's what's going on around with us. So there's the finished look. Here's an example of the card that you will be finding later on my blog in coming weeks. So for the last technique, we're going to do that same concept, but we're going to use sponge daubers. This creates a smaller effect, and you can add a lot more color to your panels by using the sponge daubers. And again, use what you have. These were two items in the last two techniques that I had on hand that I was like, I could get the look like that. So we're just going to do it the same way. We're going to take and pop down the color, and I'm twisting it also. And sometimes I just kind of dab the color on. So no wham bam, nothing like that. Just kind of fill in the cardstock. And you can see that side view was from a different project. I might make something out of that. I don't know yet. We will see. But you just kind of twist and pounce to get the look. Super easy. And again, it was stuff I had on hand. I had the distress inks. I had the sponge daubers. I very rarely use my sponge daubers. So this is, if you have those, this is another way you can get more bang for your buck with that, since they are a very inexpensive tool. And I do have in the description list and the visual supply list, there is a list of supplies for each card. Also, I have listed, not card, but supplies for each technique. And I found a really good deal on storage for the sponge daubers on scrapbook.com. So there's something to think about if you are looking for little holders for those. There's scrapbook.com has a great one. And they have some really good deal on the sponge daubers. So now we're going to come in with that same white pigment ink. We're always going to end up with the white pigment ink. It's just how it makes the technique turn out really well. Softens everything, gives it that nice airy effect. And we're going to do that same concept where we are pushing and twisting the sponge dauber, as you can see on the side view. That's why I added the side view into this video, because you can see a little bit better on how I'm actually moving my hand to help y'all out. I'm trying to help y'all here, trying to make it where the videos are a little bit better and give you a little bit more information as we go. If you like this type of video, let me know in the comments. Here's a look at my finished card. And I'm going to show you all three techniques laid out together so you can see the difference between all of them. And if you like this type of video, you're probably going to like the video coming up next. Here's a close-up of those examples and the cards. And I will see you guys in the next video. Stay crafty. Love you.